30 seconds. My chat's going crazy. Hello, America. I'm Lyle whenever his mouth's open.
Steve is muted.
Steve, you totally ruined that intro.
And I'm Steve McCreep. That's what I said, Deceived McCreep. I know who I am.
You had one job.
Deceived. I am Deceived McCreep.
Oh, you had one job, and I pulled it off so
You did. You got that one right.
great there. Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to NonSequitur. I'm almost said it again. I'm Kyle Curtis. That's Steve McCrae. We're actually together in studio tonight, so you will see me slapping him and pulling his ears and all that at some point. But we have a full house tonight. A lot of people here that are hopefully going to either be debunking or presenting a successful, for the first time, flat Earth model. And let's just go around real quickly and say hi to who we have. Reds, welcome back.
Yes. So, hello guys. My name is Red from the YouTube channel Rhetoric. I am best known for making very shocking statements, like calling the flat Earth theory a crock of shit, and that those who believe it aren't exactly the highest on the food chain when it comes to intelligence. There have been some assumptions made about me by a few people who are joining us here tonight for the NonSequitur Show. And I think it's only fair that we go ahead and meet the expectations of those people. So will the producer please make that slight adjustment to my avatar, please? Could that kind of be done? We just want to make sure that we dot our I's, cross our T's here, make sure everything's done.
Oh, you went dark. You went dark. 666-333. Oh man.
There we go. There you go. Perfect. So now that my avatar has been fixed, we're good.
And also, I just have to say real quickly that Apple phones are the worst of the worst. I mean, they are shit phones. You can't get service anywhere. You can't do anything on them. They're coming out with new features that Samsung had back in 2009. And Reds, is that good enough?
More.
Okay, I'll give you more in a little bit later, but we have.
Son of a bitch.
That was actually impressive.
Yeah,
I actually believe
it took
that.
a lot to say that.
Yeah.
I demanded
up a little
3
bit,
paragraphs at least.
Shawn, how's it going? Welcome back.
It's going great, guys. I, of course, am Shawn Hufford or Stuffblurred or Gifford, however you want to refer to me as. Channel name is, of course, Shawn Hufford, and I'd spent a lot of time. I started out by doing time lapses of satellite viewing the Earth for many, many months, and moved on to actually doing real-world observations to find out if the Earth is flat or round. Been pretty successful in that, and then I moved on to actually actively calling out bogus claims, and have gone on from there.
Excellent. Well, welcome back. I'm looking forward to tonight's debate. The man running the show, how you doing?
What's up, heathens? How y'all doing? And I'm doing pretty good. You know, I'm just sitting here watching the chat fly by and not paying attention whatsoever. So, you know, that's why I didn't respond immediately. But yes, I'm here. I'm going to be moderating the chat tonight. So yeah, I hope it'll be fun.
Excellent. Well, and then our two, one of them has been on here before in a infamous debut with Gavin Dale from Beyond the Imaginary Curve. That would be the gentleman known as Awake Souls.
Hello, everyone. That is me. I'm Jason Laufenberg, and yeah, my channel is Awake Souls, and I'm a flat earther, and I'm a rare breed that I actually have a map and model to present, and we've been trying to do it for a long time, so we're looking forward to the opportunity to do it tonight on your guys' show and to do it with Red's Rhetoric.
Excellent. and making his first appearance on our show, the Limitless Channel.
Hey guys, I'm super pumped to be here tonight. I'd like to start off by thanking each and every single person in the chat, whether you're for us or against us. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you want to donate to the Non-Sequitur, these are hardworking guys, whether you believe in them or not. They're actually giving us a voice and a platform here, which I can't say the same for the entire Flat Earth community. So hats off to the Non-Sequitur Show, and thank you for having me here. This is going to be game on.
Wow, you just made it really hard to pull against you now.
Yeah, I think I like it.
Well played. Okay, so we're going to run through real quickly what we've got coming up for the week. I'm going to do it super fast, and then we'll be able to jump straight into the talk. So tomorrow at 2 p.m., we've got Cosmic Skeptic and Dr. Alex Malpass. That will be at 2 p.m. Eastern. So that's a time change, so don't forget that. And I'm not sure if I don't know if I can see them on my screen or not, but Dave, are they up on the screen?
What?
There we go. Okay.
Oh.
So that's tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. All right, then go to Friday. Theomaki will be coming to talk about Islam and the Islam creation story and what's wrong with that. And he's got a interesting piece of topical news. It's going to be Friday at 8 p.m. We're off again Saturday and Sunday. That's a permanent thing now. So we'll be back on Monday with Dr. Misha Griffith, who will talk about some horror stories from the secret police in Russia from the Cold War. That's a continuation of a discussion that we had a couple of weeks ago. Tuesday, Rick Euphrak, the ancient coin guy that everybody loves so much, will be back, and he will finally get his chance to talk about Alexander the Great. Wednesday is now going to be the man that everybody is talking to in the comment or about in our comment section. The guy that does not believe that viruses are a thing; they're made up. Every picture that you see of a virus is CGI, he says. So we have a Casey has found a immunologist that's going to come and answer his questions to see if we can't get him a little steered on the right path there. So that's going to be Wednesday at 8 p.m. And then finally, should drugs be decriminalized? Thursday the 2nd at 8 p.m. Eastern. And then jumping ahead to the next week, Bunty King and Vadim Newquist will be with us on Thursday, August the 9th, to talk about free speech and a little bit more into that specific issue.
So if viruses don't exist, what does an immunologist or a virologist actually study then?
Wallpaper, usually. Just wallpaper.
6 years of study for wallpaper. Okay.
Yep. Okay, so without further ado, I will now pass it over to Godless Engineer to get things rolling and see this flat Earth model.
All right. Well, welcome everybody to our debate tonight, and I hope that you have a beer ready. I am getting mine ready as we speak. I'm ready for this show. Okay, so first we have on the non-flat Earth side, or the globe side, we have Red's Rhetoric and Shawn Hufford. Both of those guys are on YouTube, obviously, so if you want to go in the description right now, check them out, subscribe. They definitely deserve a subscription. And then on the flat Earth side, we have the Limitless Channel and Awake Souls. And so they're going to be presenting their model tonight for Reds and Shawn to kind of critique and I guess poke holes in it if they find any. And hopefully we can have a nice conversation. We do have a kind of a structure for the debate tonight. We're going to be starting off with 4-minute intros for both sides, 2 minutes apiece per person. And then we're going to go into a 20-minute each presentation of the respective models for each side. And then we're going to be going in sort of a 10-minute each way back and forth, and then we'll probably have some free discussion afterwards. So that's going to be kind of the schedule for tonight, and then I'm going to be here to moderate and calm everybody's tits if that is what is necessary. And I guess we will get on to it with introduction, which I believe we talked about the flat Earth side going first with introduction. So 4 minutes to the flat Earth side to introduce themselves.
All right. So I'd like to start off by saying that my name is Jason William Laufenberg, and I'm 45 years old and live in Texas. I joined YouTube July 16th, 2012, and created a channel named Awake Souls because already at that time, I knew that I was not the body and was searching for the truth about our reality. In the following year, I came to the conclusion that I was in a simulation based on having discovered that duality is a non-reality. It was my plan to share as much as I could with others about the lies of our reality when all of a sudden I heard about the possibility that Earth was not a globe, a possibility I had never considered before. I researched it, and having already been a truther, it did not take me long to realize that Earth truly is flat. April 26th of 2016, I published my first flat Earth video, which is P900 footage of sunrises that clearly show clouds behind the sun. I originally was an AE map model believer and did promote that Earth was a circular disk with a dome and an ice wall, and that the sun, moon, and stars circle around a single polar point. On September 18th, 2016, I published a video that exposed flaws with the popular Flat Earth AE map model. I presented the flaws I had discovered to the popular Flat Earth channels that promote the AE map and model, and was completely shunned. On November 30th, 2016, I had my first hangout with Ronnie James Harris, and in it we agreed that the popular Flat Earth model was impossible, and it turned out that we are both Bible-believing, true Christians. We have worked together ever since in the pursuit of truth, and he is the only person I would have with me in a debate. Ronnie and I are in agreement with each other's statements, having back-checked and researched the things each other teaches. We present today the most glaring heliocentric debunks, along with a map and model that comports with reality and has not been debunked.
Okay. Good evening. First, I'd like to praise Yahushai, my God, and every breath I take is for him. Second, I'm humbled to be here tonight. Thank you, Steve, Kyle, Reds, and Shawn for your participation, and a huge shout out to the NonSequitur Show. And last but not least, even though he has that amazing dunce clap, the moderator, Godless Engineer. My name is Ron Harris, and I am the Limitless Channel. I started my YouTube page in 2014, and since then, it has been my passion to seek and share as much truth as possible. I have over 500 videos, and over a year and a half now, I've teamed up with Jason of Awake Souls to form the other YouTube channel Beyond Flat Earth. I have always loved the creator. My martial arts background taught me that the mind is not the body. So with this understanding, coming to the conclusion that I was in God's simulation has been easy. Tonight, we know you're going to be a flat earth denier. Tonight, we know you're going to be a simulation denier. But it is our job to provide enough evidence to create a sliver of doubt and truly open your minds. We are prepared with all non-biased. We will present to the best of our ability the working map and model of our reality. We expect that Reds and Shawn will be able to provide evidence that will hold up with repeatable, measurable proof for all in the chat and world to see. Jason and I were thankful to finally have someone to debate, considering we were the ones that crushed the impossible AE flat earth map and model. Please get ready, as Awake Souls and I are prepared to represent Team Yahushai, and we promote you, the listening audience, to the jury, and may the truth win.
Oh, excellent. Thank you for adhering to the time slot. Now, now the globe side, please introduce yourselves.
All right, I guess I'll go first. So yes, my name is Rhetoric. Again, run the YouTube channel Rhetoric. And for the past 3 years, I have been going up against flat earth nonsense, trying to show them the error of their ways. And so far, it's been a really interesting ride, to say the least. I do see that my opponents for tonight's debate have their own hashtag, Team Yeshua, Yashawi, Yamaha Suzuki, something like that. So I thought it was only fair. That we, God damn it, Gallus. So I think it was only fair that we have our own hashtag. So I was trying to think of what would be acceptable to have. We need something acceptable, something that's not really offensive, has no cuss words in it or anything like that. So I decided to come up with hashtag Christians under New Testament, or cunt for short. So if you guys are on Team Globe, be sure to type in hashtag cunt, C-U-N-T, because we are Christians under New Testament. Over to you, Shawn Hufford.
Hello, guys. Obviously, I'm Shawn Hufford. I actually joined YouTube in 2010 with no idea about Flat Earth until 2015. And my first encounter was, of course, with Stars or Souls. Everybody knows the story and how that all turned out. And because of Stars or Souls' treatment of me, I moved on to Jaren. Eric DeBay was actually the third Flat Earther I ran into. And after being blocked on Stars or Souls for just pointing out simple flaws in his hypothesis, and the same with Eric DeBay, I decided to actually start making videos and actually showing why the model was wrong, along with actually going so far as to build a scale model of the flat Earth physically in my backyard and showing why it's flawed. And I've just been moving up from there. I've gone into using drones to support the globe, to actually test whether the globe is a matching reality or not. I've gone so far as to making long road trips to remote locations to see Chicago from the same place that flat earthers love to say, use the picture from Joshua Nowicki. And overall, it's just been a fun experience. I've delved into some other aspects of conspiracy theories, but flat earth is kind of my baby. And I just enjoy doing it. It's a very fun hobby.
Since we still have a minute or so, I did read up on the About section of your page there, Shawn. What was your channel originally set up for?
It was mainly just set up to just comment on videos that I liked. My first two videos were actually me singing in the game called Rock Band. It had nothing to do with anything. It was just something to do as a hobby.
Yeah, I didn't play Rock Band, but I played the Guitar Hero a lot. So, anyways, I thought that was interesting part of your channel history there. But all right, so, is everybody's done with their intros and whatnot? Everybody's good.
All good.
All good.
Okay. All right. So let's get to the models now. Since the Flat Earth side went first, how about you guys go ahead and take. I believe it's 20 minutes is what we're doing to discuss your model, present your information, and then we will hand it off to the Globe side to either refute or just present their model in general, however they want to respond. So let's go ahead.
So as soon as the producer hits play on the video, we will all start our stopwatches, please. And thank you for the great intro, guys.
All right, are you guys wanting to go first then, or?
Sure, yeah, we're ready. He's got it up.
As well.
Slaves of a nameless god, once again I bring you the challenge of Goliath of Gath, champion of the Philistines. Where is your faith in your God? Where is your trust in his protection? Then let all the world bear witness. Where is your faith in your God? Where is your trust in his protection?
I would like to begin by stating that what Team Yahushua is doing today is putting the globe on trial. Ronnie Harris and myself are acting as the prosecutors, and Red's Rhetoric and his partner are acting as the defendants in this trial, while the moderator is acting as the judge, and you, the listeners, are the jury. It is beyond our expectations that we will convince the defendants in this trial of their errors in logic and ask that you, the jury, weigh the evidence and convict the defendants of first-degree fraud against humanity. We will present as many evidences of such within the allotted time, but can assure the jury that our evidence is not limited and could span hundreds if not thousands of hours if given the opportunity. Globe debunk number 1, no curvature. Due to the defendant's claim that we are on a sphere, there in fact has to be curvature. As shown here, for a globe of a radius of 3959 miles, the necessary formula for curvature is 8 inches per mile squared. While not perfect in its calculations, all heliocentric model supporters agree that there must be curvature, and that there must be at least this much, which means that at a distance of 30 miles, there must be at least 600 feet of drop from any observer at ground level. Because the burden of proof is on the globe for such claims, Team Yahushua demands the defendants provide at least one location where the required amount of drop from an observer can be measured, that is testable, verifiable, and repeatable by all members of the jury. Keep in mind that this should not be difficult if we lived on a sphere, because this curvature should be found everywhere. Globe debunked number 2. Water at rest is flat and level. Due to the testable, verifiable nature of water, we know that water always maintains level and is flat when at rest. In a glass of water, a bathtub, a lake, and an ocean, water rests level and flat. If water constitutes 71% of Earth's surface area, Earth being a sphere is impossible. If the defendant's claim is that the oceans cling to a sphere, such a claim must be demonstrated with a scaled experiment to have any credibility at any scale they suggest is correct. Globe debunk number 3. The horizon rises to the eye level of the observer. As can be demonstrated by any 3D modeling program, if we were on a sphere, the horizon would always be beneath the feet of a person standing at sea level looking out over an ocean, and as that person gained altitude, the horizon would only get lower. This is true at any scale, and the scale suggested by heliocentric supporters is a sphere with a 3959 mile radius, requiring 600 feet of drop in 30 miles, 1,067 feet of drop in 40 miles, and 1,667 feet of drop in 50 miles. The highest observation deck of any building on Earth is the Burj Khalifa, checking in at 1,823 feet. A distance to the horizon calculator lets us know that at 1,823 feet, the horizon is 52.3 miles away. So in this image captured from the Burj Khalifa observatory deck, the distance of the clouds at the horizon is 52.3 miles, thus requiring at least 1,667 feet of drop. On a globe, that means that the furthest clouds we saw from the observation deck would be at least 1,667 feet below the observer at the shoreline. As you went up to the observation deck, the horizon would only go down. Yet the evidence shows that the higher you go, the horizon does not go down, but actually rises with the viewer. This can be demonstrated on a flat plane, but cannot be replicated with a sphere. Globe debunk number 4. Gyroscopes on the ground and in airplanes do not process. Original gyroscopes used in air travel had no electronics and did not process throughout journeys. The gyroscope of an airplane unassisted by electronics would process 90 degrees with each quarter of the sphere traveled. The artificial horizon indicator would be upside down 180 degrees, having flown half the circumference of a globe Earth. For the defendants to claim sphericity, they must demonstrate both an unelectronically assisted gyroscope process a full 360 degrees during a circumnavigational flight and throughout a full rotation of Earth from the ground. Globe debunk number 5. Earth is motionless. For Earth to rotate with the motions defined by heliocentrism, we could feel acceleration and deceleration as demonstrated in this experiment. Not only do we not feel, nor can we measure any acceleration and deceleration, but Ares failed to detect any movement of Earth whatsoever. We demand the defendants provide measurable, repeatable evidence for the acceleration, deceleration, and movement of Earth, without which the heliocentric model has no basis for any explanation regarding sunrise, sunset, and the seasons. Globe debunk number 6. Rivers. Rivers debunk the possibility that we live on a sphere. A video I published August 24, 2016 defines the experiment that anyone can do. That video is a result of me personally living on a river and experiencing a historic flood. As a result of the flood, I became deeply aware that my house sat 400 feet above sea level. I measured the distance from my house to the coast in a straight path with Google Earth and discovered my house was 143 miles from the coast where the river I live on empties into the Gulf of Mexico. The required curvature for 143 miles is 13,632 feet, minus the 400 feet elevation, and the river is 13,232 feet below an observer positioned at the point where the river empties into the Gulf, and it can be documented that the water has been flowing downhill until now, until it got to the Gulf. That means that the water has to be running uphill 13,232 feet from my house to get to the coast. The only explanation that has ever been given for how this could be possible is gravity. In order for the explanation to have any merit as evidence, the defendants must provide a scaled experiment where they can replicate water on a sphere flowing uphill into another body of water larger its size. And the model must allow scaled versions of insects and clouds and air currents to perform the way we observe. Now I'm going to present the map and model which I feel the jury will agree conforms to the witness observations of our reality. It can be said that no map is an accurate projection of a globe, which is true. It can also be said that no globe is an accurate projection of a flat map. Based on our conclusions reached by these 6 globe debunks and many others, we have concluded that there is no evidence that we live on a sphere that is testable, verifiable, and repeatable by members of the jury. As a result, one would expect to find an actual map of Earth that is not a projection. Our search for that map was guided by the knowledge of there being 2, not just 1 point of celestial rotation that many flat earthers have been duped into believing. Knowing what we were looking for led us to the C.S. Pierce Oblique Mercator 1894. We have since found more modern versions that employ the same stereographic layout and have turned them to the same orientation as the C.S. Pierce Oblique Mercator 1894. The creators of this map say that it is the most accurate map of Earth, while still suggesting that there may be distortion as a result of no map being able to project to a sphere, but we maintain that Earth is flat, therefore there should be no distortions. The map conforms to known landmass sizes, shapes, positions, and distances between. The stereographic lines of latitude and longitude eliminate the need for a compass declination map and show how dead reckoning direct routes is achieved without the use of room lines. Note how standard compass declination maps flip from east to west in Antarctica. This is explained by Antarctica being divided in 2 better than by Antarctica being a single landmass at the bottom of a globe, where the North Pole, which is the only thing ever measured, would be pulling the needle towards the center of Earth. Direct flight paths plotted on this map become great circle routes when this map is projected to a sphere, and explain the reason navigators would have to use room lines to back engineer globe-based maps back to this one. The only argument we have heard against this map is that it requires a person traveling from California to Japan to jump from one side of the map to the other, which seems like a large problem for most because it requires a different explanation for our reality. When considering these stereographic maps, I had the advantage of knowing that I was in a simulation long before Flat Earth came along, so I was not hindered by this seeming issue. From grade school on, we have all understood what happens when you get to the edge of a map. You go over to the other side at the same latitude. For the person that knows or is considering Earth as flat, there has to be a flat map that has all the land sizes, orientations, and positions that match what can be plotted by the use of latitude and longitude. This map presented conforms to all of these. It is our expectation that the defendants will want to attack the validity of this map based on our not having evidence for the transitioning of an observer from one side of the map to the other at the international dateline. We would like to remind every member of the jury that the heliocentric model requires everything that exists to have exploded from nothing. No experiment has ever demonstrated something being derived from nothing. Therefore, we ask that intellectually driven individuals focus their examinations to matters that are verifiable and replicable. In the matter of moving from one side of the map we promote to the other side, we state clearly that we say we are in a simulation and that we have many other evidences of such. We submit the Atari 1979 game Asteroids as evidence of how moving from one side of a map to the other in a game environment can be replicated. A key simulation proof that is highly relevant to the topic of the shape of the Earth is clouds behind the sun. A search on YouTube for clouds behind the sun produces thousands of results. Clouds behind the sun has been filmed by many different people everywhere on Earth. A search for clouds behind the sun debunked only yields a couple results, each of which is easily discredited. First, it is said that they are debunked because of high altitude footage that shows the sun above the clouds. We have demonstrated that the distance the sun is rendered to us is based on our observation height. At high altitudes, the sun has the largest radial path around the observer, and the observer is already well above the clouds, so there is no expectation of seeing clouds behind the sun. The next debunk is fraudulent and uses overlays to cover the areas that clouds can be clearly seen behind the sun. And finally, McWest, who is a Globe Earth supporter who was defeated in debate by Nathan Oakley, demonstrates a faulty experiment, and he has to have the comments disabled because of the criticism of his experiment's faulty design and conclusions. It is clearly not the brightness of the sun passing through some cloud layers and not others, because we can see something as small as a bird flying across the disk of the sun. Lastly, crepuscular and anti-crepuscular rays give accurate triangulation to the sun, and the distance to the source of light can be calculated accurately based on our observed distance to the horizon. Not only the globe, but the actual nature of what we consider to be reality has been put on trial, and Ronnie James Harris and myself, Jason William Laufenberg, are not only acting as the prosecutors in this trial, but we maintain that we are the two witnesses spoken of in the Bible, and that part of our ministry is exposing the great deception of the heliocentric lie.
The next piece of evidence I submit to the jury is that if the Earth were a spinning globe spinning around the sun once per year, then every 6 months, if not every 3 months, the opposing side of the Earth would be facing away from the sun. Therefore, we should see different stars and different constellations throughout the entire 12-month year. But this is not true, and this leads to the fact that the Earth is stationary, and it is the stars that move around us. Ladies and gentlemen, and members of the esteemed jury, I now bring forth the evidence that Red's Rhetoric used against Jeranism. This is an image that was created by Soundly. We can clearly see that when we draw a line across the horizon, that the left side and the right side of the waterline do not match. This does not comport with reality, let alone the fact that to see the supposed curvature of Earth from the estimated size, we would have to be over 35,000 feet in the air. Anybody who submits fake, falsified evidence should not be allowed to testify in this court. It is well documented, due to the radius and the circumference of the supposed ball Earth, that you cannot see curvature anywhere from the ground. So anyone who submits CGI falsified evidence will be called out and exposed as a charlatan and should be shamed from the community. Our circle of sight is a fixed distance where visually our horizon meets the sky and runs 360 degrees all around us. Any objects beyond our circle of sight will be hidden depending on their height and our height above the flat Earth. The height and altitude is definitely what determines the distance we can see. We will demonstrate without a shadow of doubt that ships and buildings that sail and that are located beyond our visual horizon line will be obscured due to the limited field of view, not due to any curvature. This is only proof positive that we live on a flat plane. So as the ship approaches our circle of sight, its sail, being the tallest point with the largest field of view, begins to rise above our horizon line. The closer the ship approaches our center point of field of view, the more and more of the ship will be seen until the ship has become entirely visible. This is not due to refraction or curvature. This is simply due to the functions of our circles of sight. Likewise, therefore, as the ship sails away from our circle of sight, the same action is applied. The sail will be the last thing that we'll be able to see, due to the fact that our horizon line and the distance to the edge of our field of view is the demarcator line and the point in which objects are obstructed. So again, I repeat to the jury, the tallest part of the ship, the top of the mast, has the largest field of view. When that point has then crossed our horizon line, the ship will become entirely invisible. I now submit unto the jury a video by BD Cave Dweller. The purpose of this evidence is to reconfirm the prediction that our fixed field of view is the reason we see ships and buildings obstructed beyond our horizon. In this footage that will be linked below, we see the ship as beyond our circle of sight, and we predict that if we were to rise our elevation, we would then see the entirety of the ship with no evidence of curvature. So now that BD has driven up to a higher vantage point, if the Earth were a ball, the hump of water that Red's model predicts that obstructs the ship would be greatly enhanced. This is not what we see. Just as predicted, we have only enlarged our field of view, and now we can see the entire ship out in the middle of a flat bay, and zero curvature is detected. I submit that our observations of the circle of sight again holds up in court as proof that our reality is indeed a flat plane. Now, I submit one last video as evidence that a ball earther has filmed with his drone, and again, the drone rises in altitude, and we then see more of the Salt Lake City, due to the larger field of view as predicted with the rise in elevation. Thank you, ball earther.
I want to deal with Wolfie's clip that he posted on the internet, right? We showed a ship, right, in the front and a ship behind, right? So what's wrong with this image? Wolfie's claiming that this is real. So I'm going to have a look at this, right? That you can see a ship behind the horizon, dropping below. And then he has the cheek of saying that his clip makes flat earthers look stupid. It makes him look stupid.
So again, we bring to the table more evidence that Ball Earth believers have tried to CGI footage in support of their faith. Yet after scrutiny and testing, we find that the evidence used to support their faith does not match reality in any way, and should be stricken from the jury's findings due to the clear evidence that it does not match reality. The full video from my perspective will be linked below. I now submit to the jury the working map of our reality. This map both works as a ball or a flat plane. This is the oblique stereographic map and has nearly no distortions, even at the poles. Moreover, esteemed members of this hearing, I bring to your attention that this is touted as the most accurate map ever created. The link will be below. This map makes predictions in the very same manner that anyone trying to use a globe projection could bring to the court. Now, what's even more interesting is that room lines and dead reckoning paths created through plotting straight paths when projected onto imaginary globe become great circle routes, as would be predicted if our reality is truly a flat plane. We submit that the Earth is observably and measurably flat, and thus, if the two concepts have been presented, the winner would be the concept that best describes our reality. The very fact that no one has ever seen curvature or felt Earth spin only leads to the proof that we do indeed live on a flat and motionless plane.
It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
The curve, like from 100,000 feet or whatnot, like not even 100,000 feet. At fucking ground level, they expect to see a curve.
It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
I now bring to your attention the very government agency that is responsible for the indoctrination of the Ball Earth upon our youth and society. We have yet to go back to the moon since 1972, and as of today, it has been 45 years, 11 months, and 28 days to the day. Now, if you want to call me names like conspiratard, I shift the onus back onto the jury. I simply ask, if the United States Apollo 11 was the first manned mission to land on the moon, supposedly on the 20th of July, 1969, there was then 5 more manned missions to the moon between 1969 and 1972, we are to believe that NASA then just somehow lost the technology to travel to the moon? As well, when the request for the telemetry data was filed, NASA responded with that they had lost all of the telemetry data tapes. And we are to take them at their word for anything and just overlook that we have not progressed in 45 years? Now, the last point I ask the jury is, if NASA and space was so important, why do we not have a 24/7 feed of the Earth spinning as a ball monitoring the weather? This is 2018, and we are approaching 50 years since the so-called 6 trips to the moon. The burden of proof has not been met, and we as truth seekers find NASA fraudulent, fake, and a government agency that has been fooling people of this realm for almost 100 years.
All right, and we're done. Okay. Thank you, Flat Earther side, for presenting something. So now we're going to do 20 minutes to the globe side. So I don't know how you guys want to exactly tackle this. It's probably going to be very repetitive in the exact same discussions you guys have been having on your channels for the past like 5 years or so. But let's go ahead and I will reset it, and just let me know when you're ready.
All right, Shawn, do you want to go or should I?
Go ahead.
Okay. I'll let you know when I'm done saying everything I need to say, if you want to add some stuff to it. Let me know when to go, Gallus. You're the boss here.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead and start right now.
Okay. Number 1, they say that that they were going to bring a model that comports with reality. I'm very disappointed in the fact that they didn't. They did not bring a model that comports with reality. Our reality does not show a Pac-Man sun. Our reality shows 2 celestial poles, not 3 on some of the maps that they were actually showing. If we were coming here to argue for a model. That means positive evidence for yours, not negative evidence against mine. That was the thing that was originally agreed to in the Jeranism debate. And the thing that you were criticizing Jeranism for doing, you are now doing yourself. So if we're going to follow the court definition, I'm now going to call you in contempt of court because we were expecting you to actually bring a valid representation of reality using a flat surface. Negative evidence against mine is not positive evidence for yours. And we'll get to the simulation thing in a moment. But first, let's go over some of your supposed debunks for curvature and find out that we've actually already tackled a bunch of these issues back in 2015 and 16, showing how much you're on the cutting edge of flat Earth research. 1, water is flat and level as demonstrated, whatever. Okay, listen. Water is not flat, it is level, but not flat, as demonstrated by the video MC the MC1. You try to debunk this by not using the correct perspective measurement in a 3D model. That does not represent reality. In fact, I can show you one that does. So no, that footage has not been debunked. The one with the tanker ship going behind the curvature of the Earth. Not only that, but I took a similar observation from Tampa Bay that shows the red hull portion of the ship being obscured by the curvature of the Earth. Going to the other side of the bay, you actually see the red that was hidden by curvature. Are you going to say that I CGI'd my video? Because if so, then I'm sorry, then you just don't know what real imagery looks like. Next, the horizon does not rise to eye level. Shawn Hufford demonstrated this beautifully with his DJI Mavic Pro. Shawn Hufford had his drone set at 100 feet altitude with a line indicating where the horizon was. The gimbal was not touched at all throughout the entire observation. As Shawn Hufford rose the drone, the horizon actually dropped below eye level, exactly what is predicted by the globe as admitted by the people who are on the other side of this debate. They say that if the horizon drops below eye level, that would conform to a curved Earth. Shawn Hufford's video demonstrates that beautifully. Not only did he do it, but I did it as well. I also did it when I was in a plane and used an app called Dichotomy, which allows you to measure the horizon elevation. And when I was at altitude, it was at -3 degrees, hardly at eye level. Next, they brought up gyros and airplanes. Wolfie shows that gyros actually do compensate for the gravitational pull of the Earth. And his video will also be linked down below so you can see the clear and demonstrable debunk of that so-called proof. I would also like to mention that Globebusters even bought a really sophisticated gyro, and they even admit that they were observing 15 degrees of rotation per hour, exactly what is predicted by the round Earth model. I also would like to point out that let's go ahead and put a ball, put it on the table. Is it moving? No. Is it still a ball? Yes. So why the actual fuck is this an argument for the shape of our Earth? The movement of that Earth is not what is relevant to this discussion. It's the shape of the Earth. And it's really, really sad that in order to try and make it seem like they had a case, they had to go down an irrelevant rabbit hole. Next, rivers. Rivers run downhill when compared to mean sea level. There is no river that you can show me that will not run downhill when compared to mean sea level. There is no reason it is to go up a hill because there is a, quote, hump of land in between because it's following the curvature of the Earth, because the pull of gravity curves with the curving Earth. So therefore, there is no contradiction here. Point me to that river. One person actually points to Nile. I have that diagram saved, and I'll be more than happy to show that to you, to showing that there is no contradiction with the globe model when it comes to rivers. Also, the asserted map still fails when it comes to the sun's size and position, because if we were to look at that particular map, the sun would have to be way closer than it is in reality. Being very closer means that it falls into the same issue when it comes to law of perspective when it comes to the AE map. The law of perspective is alpha equals 2 times the arctan of G over 2R, which would assert and which would demonstrate that the sun would have to rise at one angular size, grow to 3 times bigger midday, and then shrink again to the size it was when it initially rose. All flat Earth surfaces, no matter how you try to distort the picture, fall into this problem. So they would have to demonstrate why their sun does not follow the rules of the law of perspective, and no, a glitch in the matrix is not going to be an acceptable answer. Also, they mentioned that that objects do not disappear beyond the horizon because there's actually something in the way. They say there's a limitation of the circle of sight. Well, I got a problem with that. Actually, there's two problems with that. One, a circle of sight, I do believe, works along straight lines along the surface of the Earth. And since parallel lines don't intersect by definition, if we demonstrate that by straight line, we should be able to see just fine far enough, then that would debunk the whole circle of sight thing. Well, given the fact that I can see the International Space Station from a confirmed 250 miles away, which I was actually able to confirm via trigonometry, it turns out that the circle of sight should be, at bare minimum, 250 miles. But no, we don't see that, do we? Not only that, but when objects are disappearing beyond the curvature, we're actually seeing past what is the supposed limitation of our circle of sight. If our circle of sight is the limiting factor here, and objects that are taller are going beyond the circle of sight via their own diagrams, via the thing that they were able to bring up, we shouldn't see them at all. They shouldn't be arbitrarily cut at an arbitrary distance. I would also like to know how they were able to derive the limitation of circle of sight. Where is the mathematics? Where is the efficacy of your supposed solution to this problem? I don't see it as a valid concept that we do live in a simulation. So basically, you're going to get rid of the Pac-Man sun problem by simply assuming that we are in a simulation? No, that is a presupposition that you can't back up or that I can't back up. We're not going to simply accept it because you say so. That is weak evidence at best and horrid non-evidence at worst. Shawn, would you like to continue from here?
Alrighty.
Oh, yeah.
Notepad, because I actually took notes for all this.
You did have to take notes. And also, when it comes to the sun and the clouds thing, David, can you please show the picture that I took myself from the Nikon P900? Because according to their logic, I guess that rocket is in front of the power lines. Go ahead, Shawn.
And since we're actually dealing with the sun behind clouds, I was actually going to bring this up. When I was doing my solar noon to sunset video, I actually had a plane fly in front of the sun with my solar filter on. And you actually blocked me from your channel, Awake Souls, because I actually talked about this to you, about how you measured the size of the sun with a bird that was flying through the sun, according to your video. And with this plane I had that was about 60 miles away, it would have taken about 67 planes to cross the surface of the sun the way you did with your 26 and a half birds. You blocked me for your channel for pointing that out because it debunked your claim on the size and distance to the sun. And it also debunked your entire simulation theory of the sun because obviously the bird wasn't flying through it. It was just a glare issue and then going into thicker clouds on the left side. And you just assumed it flew through the sun. Your claim on the stars being on the opposite sides, or the same side of the Earth being on opposite sides of the sun 6 months apart, you really need to understand the difference between a sidereal day and a solar day. Solar days are 24 hours. Sidereal days are 23 hours and 56 minutes. That's when these Earth facings face the same star after one rotation. A solar day is more than 360 degrees, which is why it takes 24 hours. You had a contradiction in your field of view claims between both of your presentations. One of you had a dome or a sphere around the observer. The other one had an upside down cone. You guys need to resolve that because with the sphere model of your circle of sight, as you gained altitude, that sphere's bottom would become smaller and you would see less ground distance. The cone sight made more sense until you actually got to the part where things would start disappearing from your view. With the upside down cone, as things moved away from your view, they would actually disappear top to bottom. You didn't think about that in your model. Your gyroscopes on aircrafts, they only used electronic correction for a few years in the Navy. The rest of it has always been done mechanically with pendulous vanes. Wolfie has actually demonstrated this many times. There's no electronics involved. It's just dealing with gravity. The gyroscope actually relevels to itself with gravity continuously. Let's see. You asked for live feed from space of Earth. I've presented many times EchoStar 11, which was an 18-month, 24/7 or 24-hour a day, 7-day week live stream for 18 months before the camera started to fail. Every flat earther around ignores this. What's my time left, Godless? You're muted.
Sorry, it's about 9 minutes.
Oh, wow. Your lost technology claim from NASA. It's not a lost technology. We just no longer make that technology. It used to use vacuum tubes. We don't make those anymore. They're irrelevant. We now use solid state devices. And the reason why we don't use those to go to the moon anymore is because we're not sure how solid state devices are going to work while being active in order to sustain human life as we pass through the Van Allen radiation belts. That's what the whole Orion spacecraft is being tested for, is will any of these new components fail with the high radiation levels? So it's technically not a lost technology. It's just an obsolete technology. You said that NASA's been deceiving the world for 100 years. We still got about 30 years to go before we get to that 100-year mark. What have I missed? Oh, the due south on your Mediterranean or your map that you provided us, which is what you're claiming your model is, has several issues. You're going to need more than 3 celestial poles, as Red's said. You would actually need 4. Because if you look at your map, all of your southern hemisphere continents are pointing in 3 separate directions. So you're going to have 3 south poles, stars. You're going to have 1 north pole star. And also you claim that there is nothing out of proportion, but I'm pretty sure Alaska is not the same size as the entire United States. You pointed out the magnetic north or the magnetic south pole being in Antarctica, which is why you had to split it into 2 continents. But then you pointed out how the North Pole is still, geographically is still magnetically the North Pole. They are offset, which is why we have declination. Also, with the South Pole, magnetic is not the same as geographic. Again, because of declination. The magnetic poles are not the same as the geographic poles. So we covered that. Curvature drop, we've covered that with Red talking about my horizon drops below eye level because it drops predictably with the curve of the Earth. From 100 feet to 1,639 feet, the expected drop is 0.6 degrees, which is what the drone actually registered. And I think I can give up the rest of the time because we've covered all their claims.
Yep. I'll finish off then by saying that let's go ahead and hypothetically say that NASA is lying to everyone. And let's hypothetically say that NASA has been confirmed to be one big gigantic bullshit story. The fact is this. It doesn't matter what NASA says. It doesn't matter what any PhD scientists say. It doesn't matter what any church says. The fact is that the round earth model can be verified directly by everybody here. All you have to do is realize one thing, just to start out. Realize the apparent contradictions that I am going to assert right here, right now, that they will not be able to answer. And notice how our model has 0 contradictions. And to ask a few questions of the people that we are debating against, I just have a few that were given to me in chat. Question 1. Can your model make predictions which the globe model does not? What predictions and have they been verified? Can and does the globe earth model make verified predictions at all? You can even start there. And what does your model not explain and can it be rectified? That is a lot of questions that we have and more to come. So with that, I think we're going to relinquish the rest of our time.
Okay, thank you, Reds and Shawn, for that the detailed look at debunking their model. So now what we're going to do is we're going to have 10 minutes for the flat Earth side to sort of respond to the globe side, and then we will give the globe side a chance to respond to them in a 10-minute fashion too. So, flat earthers, if you would like to go ahead and let me know when you're going to go, and we'll proceed.
Give us a 3, 2, 1 countdown, and we'll get the clock started and go.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, start.
Again, we have demonstrated that perspective better matches a flat Earth due to the fact that there has never been curvature measured. The horizon always will continue to rise to eye level, no matter what height we've been able to measure from. Keep aside the fact that the ISS is supposed real and the curvature seen from there is real as well. Second, number one, my first question to Shawn and Reds is, could you please provide a working accurate map of your globe? Question number two, could you please show us how you would wrap said map onto a sphere? Question number three, why does no one use globes for educational purposes? Question four, now that we have stated that water is always level and flat, whether it's in a glass, a pool, an ocean, a lake, they are always conformed to flat. How can you then be telling the jury and the witnesses that are here tonight that water is level and curving? This is an absolute joke, and it's a play on people's you're basically discrediting yourself by bringing up such an argument. Within the first minute of Red's presentation tonight, he already started ad hom attacking us. Water is not flat and curved. That is an absolute joke. Reds did not present any map, any model, or any predicting of any type of anything, really. And I said to Shawn Hufford, almost 100 years. I did not state that they have been fooling us for 100 years. We have only stated that our map and model has two poles. They're one in the south and one in the north. And in the north, the stars revolve counterclockwise around Polaris, and in the counterclockwise around Sigma Octantis. They rotate clockwise around Sigma Octantis. Over to you, Jason, and if there's time, I'll take it.
Oh, there's plenty of time, brother. Just a couple of notes that I went through as they were presenting. One you covered of them, the two poles. The map that we present has just a north and a south, but that pole in the south would be split to one side or to the other. So the people from South America would be following those lines of longitude to that point on Antarctica on the west side, and the people of Australia would be following those lines of longitude to the point for it would be the Antarctica on the right side of the map. So there's just 2 points in this model. That's one of the criteria that we were looking for as we were looking for a working map for the flat Earth. I do have a P900 and I do make observations, and it's key to being a person that can actually debate and understand their reality. A lot of the observations that we get from promoted people like Wolfie, Soundly, people like that, it's by the fact that I've done the observations, documented it, studied it, and have that material up on my channel that I can tell when something is being faked and something's not being faked. So to the jury, everybody listening out there, the only way you're ever going to know truly whether or not the people that are presenting evidence to you is true or not is to actually have done it yourself and seen what it looks like for yourself. So the globe requires movement. And Red said that we're debating the shape of Earth and that movement isn't a part of the debate, but it's the only explanation that the globe has for sunrise, sunset, and the seasons. So without the movement of our Earth, there can be no globe. It's one of those absolute destroyers of the possibilities. So movement is a huge key aspect, one that demands experimentation that can prove the Earth is moving. So the video that we presented, I had 6 main points that I would expect the heliocentric model supporters to be able to provide evidence for, because any one of these things that evidence can't be provided for absolutely debunks the model dead in the water. It's not even a plausible explanation for our reality. So I just want to remind everybody that the curvature experiment we need to have from Globe Earth supporters a place identified here on Earth where, you know, Ronnie and I are carpenters, builders. We know how to use theodolites. We know how to use surveying equipment. We build things flat and level all the time. We wouldn't get paid if they were curved. So we need to know where we can go measure the curvature so that we can go set up the experiment and go out there and test to verify that the required curvature is there. The second point is that in order for heliocentric supporters to say that we're on a sphere, they have to demonstrate, at least at a scaled model, water clean to a sphere and maintaining, you know, it's level. It's called level, right? It's you got to be able to demonstrate that in order for it to be actual science. Point number 3 was the replicating of the horizon using the observer on a sphere. So we can demonstrate through 3D modeling what happens to the horizon when a person's on a sphere and when a person's on a flat plane. And when we do that, and anybody can do this, any 3D modeling program, what you end up with is that the horizon rises on a flat plane and it does not on a sphere. So that is a big debunk for the globe. And I'm going to turn it back over to Ronnie.
Okay, some more evidence that I bring to the table is, I guess, for the simulation deniers. There's a scientist, because I'm not one of those flat earthers that you know, discounts every theory and every scientist. So I'd like everybody to do some research, all the jury. I would like you to research a scientist by the name of George Smoot. George Smoot was the one who conducted balloon-borne observations and then also replicated what observations were discovered in an actual simulator. And he is the one that repeatedly states that the Earth and the entire sky was measured to be flat. He's run enough simulations to know that the Earth is flat. And not only that, he states that the fact that when we do actually scale down our experiments to find out if reality is in fact a true physical world, the fact that we cannot actually verify that 100% only leads to the fact that the Earth and this realm is in fact a type of simulation. My other piece of evidence is we don't know the difference between whether a dream or an awake state is happening. This entirely proves the point that we are living inside of the creator of the Bible's simulation. Another point that I bring to the table, if all of you haven't done the research, but there's been things in our reality that have been changing, especially the Masonic King James version of the Holy Scriptures, which were definitely stripped. They actually took hundreds of scriptures out of the holy text and labeled it down to 66. Go figure. But this alone proves the fact that there has been an ongoing attempt to not only validate the fact that we live on a spinning ball Earth and that there is no God. When science is actually asked to provide evidence for the Big Bang, how can they ever provide evidence from something from nothing? As well, the symbiotic nature of our environment states that the oxygen depends on the life force. So animals would not be able to live and survive on this plane, in this reality, if the trees weren't first. Nothing could be here without everything symbiotically working together. So again, I ask, please provide a working, accurate map of your globe, Shawn and Reds. If you cannot, you are definitely even further defeated in this debate. Show us how you would then wrap said map onto a globe without distortions, taking into account all of the necessary things. Now, you stated that our map cannot predict. We use the very same technology that you guys use. Stellarium, guess what, guys, is a flat map that projects the sky and the stars that wrap around us. Not only that, we also use other types of simulated systems that show definitely how the sun, stars, and moon and everything rises and sets around us. And the other debunk that you guys said was that the horizon line drops, yet we can go on the internet and check, you know, home-based scientists that launch balloons up 100,000 feet, yet the horizon line still rises to the eye level of that. But you're going to tell us that in a, what did you say, 1,000 feet, you show 3% drop? Like, we're here for actual observable, provable proof. So I state again, if you cannot provide a working, accurate map of your globe and then show us how said map wraps to a ball, you definitely are dead in the water. I turn it back over to Awake Soul.
We've just got like 40 seconds left. I just want to point out that if we're going to use real science, everyone, Real science is observable, measurable, repeatable. And if you start paying attention, everything that you see or witness happens is in a very small circle of sight. Generally, 10 to 20 miles for most people. It's extreme conditions where you're going to see more than that. So coming up, we want to talk more about clouds behind the sun, crepuscular rays, and things like that, but we can see the rest of our time.
And that's all your time. So I do, before I get to the globe side, I do want to point out a few things here. Tonight we are debating the flat earth model, not simulation theory or abiogenesis or evolution or anything like that. Those are not pertinent to a flat earth model or the shape of the earth. So I would just appreciate it. And in the future, I will stop you. I will break in and stop you if you start to mention any of those things. I get that your model kind of depends on a simulation idea. So, I mean, you can mention it for the purposes of your portal thing, where one thing leaves one side of the map and it appears on another side of the map. But as far as simulation theory goes, that's not pertinent to this particular conversation.
Just a moment. We are saying that we're in a simulation that is key and fundamental to the entire debate. If you want to see the map and model that we present, we're not saying that this is part of a physical reality. We're saying it's part of a simulation, so it is absolutely key and fundamental to it.
No, well, I get that you see it that way, but what we want to focus on here is your flat earth model, like the actual model of it. I get that the simulation theory is part of how you think the boundaries of the square earth or whatnot work, but only to that extent, I would say that it's worth mentioning. And it's not worth mentioning like, oh, we can't prove with 100% without doubt that we're not in a simulation. Like that's not pertinent to this particular conversation. All you got to do is talk about your actual model and how it's supposed to operate. Okay, so let's try to focus on that, and no extensive talk of simulation or whatnot, and especially no talk of abiogenesis, evolution, Big Bang theory, cosmic microwave background radiation. Anything like that is not pertinent to a flat Earth like map model. Okay, like pointing out how there's got to be trees or whatever at the beginning of the earth or whatnot is not pertinent to a flat earth model. So I'm going to let the globe side go to respond to what you said, and then we will go into kind of an open discussion from there, I believe is the plan.
All right. Shawn, do you want to go first or should I?
I'll take this one first.
Go ahead.
Awake Souls didn't pay attention to what I said about my own observation of horizon drop. So, David, will you please pull up the first video and go to 139? Now, at this point, I'm at 106 feet, and I placed that arrow on the video to show where the horizon is at 106 feet. Now, that arrow never moves. I never touch the gimbal on the drone. Please proceed to 5 minutes and 42 seconds when I am at 1,639 feet. The horizon has visibly dropped. Case closed. About predictability of the model. Pull up the sunrise prediction video. And with this, I actually used SunCalc to find out where the sun would rise on a geographic heading, not a compass heading. And go ahead and proceed to 25 seconds. And I left the drone facing this orientation from takeoff. I never turned it. Go ahead and play it. Mute it. There you go. And there's the sun, as predicted on a globe model. Angular size of the sun. Pull that video up, please. Go to 1407. And make sure you mute it and play that through for a few seconds. This is an overlay of one image from noon and one image from sunset, taken with a solar filter. They are the exact same size. Anti-crepuscular rays video, please. Go to 456. Those crepuscular rays show where the sun is at. It is below the horizon because the sun set 15 minutes before, or 15 minutes before this video was made. This was also made with a drone. This drone is flying at 50 meters. Go to 521. Those are where the anti-crepuscular rays are meeting above the horizon. And I'll leave the rest to you, Red.
Thank you very much. Okay. I want to start off by saying that I was really hoping that Awake Souls and Limitless would actually provide us with a challenge, but by the looks of the live chat, I'm not the only one who's disappointed. Number one, ignoring Shawn's video does not make it go away. Once again, you brought up the whole dropping in horizon thing, but as Shawn elegantly pointed out when he went first, no, that video does exist, and it does show the horizon dropping as predicted by the globe Earth model. And what is not predicted by your own model via your own admission. During your rebuttal, you had a 3D rendering of the Burj Khalifa and rising in elevation and not seeing the horizon drop at all. But when we actually try this observation in reality, whether it's a simulation or not, the simulation's not agreeing with you. Sorry. It's just not agreeing with you. Next, you said that you want us to scale water sticking to a ball. I have a question for you. How do you scale gravity? How would you scale gravity, and how would you make that sphere work when already within the gravitational field of the Earth in which you're going to do the experiment? How would you do that? If direct observation of curbing water is not good enough for you because you just outright deny Soundly's evidence, even though it mathematically and predictably confirms exactly what we should expect to see given the sphericity of our planet. Yeah, since you deny that, please tell us how you would go about scaling gravity. I don't think you can. Also, George Smoot, you said, point to him as an authority for the simulation. George Smoot, what shape of the Earth does he think? Or what shape does he think the Earth is? I bet you he would say round. So you're going to agree with him in one aspect, but you're going to disagree with him in the other aspect. Well, if you're allowed to do that, then so can I. I will disagree with him outright when it comes to our universe being a confirmed simulation, but I will agree with him with the Earth being round, just like you will disagree with him with the Earth being round, but you will agree with him with the universe being a supposed simulation. Next, that is not going to help you here, because as was previously said earlier, your sun would have to essentially be Pac-Man to just transport itself over to the other side of the map. Where is the evidence of that sharp line? Where is the evidence that this teleportation area actually exists? You didn't bring any evidence. You merely asserted it. And if you are presenting your case to the jury, they are going to find you guilty, not only of contempt, but providing a shitty argument. And so with that, I now go to the one other thing, the angular size of the sun, because your own model does not get rid of the angular size of the sun problem. Doing the math, we would expect a few things. One, we would expect the sun to rise at one angular size, grow to 3 times bigger midday, and then shrink again to the size it was when it initially rose. As observations done by myself and Shawn Hufford show, that does not happen. Also, you mentioned your clouds behind the sun. Well, as the image that I had David present to everybody, that I also took with a P900, I guess that rocket is also in front of the power lines that I was able to objectively see was actually closer to me than the fucking rocket. What is happening is that the power, the intensity of the light is overpowering the wire that is in front of the sensor. And so you will get what's known as light bleed, and it will look like that portion of light is in front of the wire. In fact, David, could you please show that image on screen for everybody so that we can see the limitations of the P900, which they said themselves that they were using? This pretty much invalidates any claim that their images show, or confirm, I should say, that the sun is in front of the clouds. It does not work that way. your own evidence has been debunked by another guy who happens to have a P900. Not just one of them, but two. The flat earther camera of choice. So with that, there's one more thing I do want to say about this whole thing. Is that they did not, under any circumstances, give us a model in which can make predictions. And one of the predictions that I would expect is it to be consistent when it comes to the pole star conundrum. At the beginning, they said that they only had 2 poles. But then later on, Awake Soul said, well, we actually do have 2 celestial poles, but one of them is split in half. So you have 3 then. We don't have 3. We have 2. On your map, people would be looking in different directions, yet be seeing the same thing. That is a contradiction that I don't think even a glitch in the Matrix is going to save you from. And if this really is a simulation made for by God, he is weeping at your pathetic attempt to describe it. I relinquish the rest of my time to the moderator.
How much time do we got left?
2 minutes.
I got one more point to make.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
David, can you bring up their map real quick? Because Red is still wrong about 3 poles, and they are still wrong about having their poles set up the way they do. And I'm going to show that.
I love being called out on my bullshit.
Okay. I still assert that they would require 4 poles, 1 north and 3 south, at least. Because they make the point that South America would be looking at the left side South Pole, and Australia would be looking at the right side South Pole. Where does Africa look? Look at their map. It's pointing straight down. They require 3 South Celestial Poles because every single one of those continents can see the same exact celestial pole. So their map requires 4 celestial poles.
And just to be clear, the rebuttal of it's just a glitch in the Matrix does not fly here.
So take a look. He's correct. South America would be looking to the left. Australia would be looking at the right. Africa is looking damn near straight down. And if you're over there on the right or left side of Africa, you are looking straight down between both Antarcticas to see the South Celestial Pole. So yes, their map requires 4 celestial poles.
Which I am going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and present that to the jury, which is the people watching this chat or this hangout right now, that we don't see that in reality. So their model does not comport with reality. Back to you, Godless Engineer.
Okay. All right. Awesome. So thank you guys, everybody, for taking part. We're going to be doing a kind of a free discussion, I guess. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work, Lyle and Deceive, but that's the part that we're at now. So I don't know if you guys just want to go ahead and light this dumpster fire now, or
I'm ready.
Okay. We'll just let you guys just do me a favor and try not to talk over each other so that the people who are listening can understand what you're trying to say. We'll give you all the time that you need. Just try not to do that because that's annoying and people can't understand what's going on. But we'll let Team Awake and Limitless start us off in their questioning.
Yeah.
Okay.
So sorry. I'll try to prevent people from cutting other people off, and I'll try to be as even-handed as I can. Since I am the moderator. So don't take any kind of personal offense to me cutting you off or anything or telling you to stop. I'm just trying to be fair.
Yeah, we both knew that. Oh, sorry. Yeah, we Jason and I both knew that we'd be up against 500 years of indoctrination, plus at least a minimum of 4 participants. So Reds asked for a claim of predictions. Well, actually, if you were to take the solar declinations during the both equinoxes, you would actually be able to plot on our map precisely your latitude. Using the sticks and shadows that Reds also presented against Jeranism, we submit that our map and model actually precisely predicts on those 2 equinoxes using sticks and shadows to your accurate, perfect location. Jason wanted to throw in a quick response about the pole situation and how our map, if you could pull the map back up kindly, Jason's just going to put a point on to the actual observations. The way that the map works.
Before we move on to that separate point, let me first address yours. Actually, the sticks and shadows thing would not work on your flat Earth because it would require the sun to be astronomically close, much closer than it is in reality. And that would mean that we should expect to see a shift in angular size of the sun throughout the day. Again, in order for your flat Earth model to work, the sun must rise at one angular size, grow to 3 times bigger midday, and then shrink again to the size it was when it initially rose. As observations done by myself and Shawn Hufford show, that clearly does not happen, which can be tested independently whether you're for or against the flat Earth.
Okay, I would just like to respond to that. We agree that the sun does not change in angular size. That is a problem that is inherent with what we call the fake flat Earth, the AE map and model that treats the sun like it's a physical object. In our model, what we've shown to people is that the distance that we see the sun at is related to our observation height, and that it's generally in the 10 to 20 mile range. That's the reason why we do get to see clouds behind the sun during sunrises and sunsets if clouds are out at the horizon. So we do bring people to just how close the observations are. In fact, I was outside today, and being in Austin, I'm looking up at like 80, almost 90 degrees directly above my head. When a cloud goes right over my head, it's between me and the sun. Now, I understand your explanation for it being at 93 million miles, but for myself, having recorded clouds behind the sun many, many times, I recognize just how close it is. And then there are the crepuscular and anti-crepuscular rays that are well documented in clouds that are in our circle of sight. So that's what a person needs to realize, is that they're not seeing clouds that are 100 or 200 miles away. They're seeing clouds that are in their 10 to 20 mile range, and that it's from those clouds that the anti-crepuscular rays are happening.
All right, just one claim at a time here. So question, you are aware that I have a Nikon P900 too, right?
Sure, many do.
Okay, good. You're also aware that I had David present a picture of a rocket showing the ass end of the rocket, the one with the fire and pure biasery, appearing as if it was though it was in front of power lines that were directly in front of me, right?
Yeah, I do have a video that deals with focal length and how when the focal length is at a certain point that you will have that type of obscuring. I do demonstrations of how focal length matters. There's plenty of video footage of birds flying across the face of the sun, and they're not obscured. So it's not a brightness issue. It's not an obscuring issue, because you can clearly see birds fly across the face of the sun and tons of footage.
Which is weird, because I just showed you video again from the Nikon P900 that shows that a really bright light can overpower objects that may be in front, such as, I don't know, wispy clouds.
Well, okay, so I still, again, submit to the jury and the witnesses all above. Reds Rhetoric and Shawn Hufford have still yet to show us a correct, accurate map of their said globe and how they wrap it to a sphere. This is a debate called Model-geddon, which is what we agreed to. We have yet to see any evidence of your globular sphericity Earth. We have actually demonstrated that our map and our model predicts precisely during the equinoxes your latitude due to your solar declination. We've explained how the sun, moon, and stars all circle around us in our local circle of sight. When rising in altitude, the sun stays at a fixed distance. So have you ever heard, Reds and Shawn, the expression that you'd like to get to the rainbow, the pot of gold?
Yeah, we heard of it, but a quick correction there. Yeah, you brought forth a supposed model, and I guess it does make sense so long as you ignore the glaring contradictions that myself and Shawn were very easily able to point out, such as, for example, the angular size of the sun problem, which you have still yet to address, because the law of perspective does not pick days that it just simply does not work.
I actually want to touch on two things real quick that they kind of separated away from. Awake Souls, can you go ahead and tell us your methodology on telling that the sun was 5 to 10 miles away?
Well, it's pretty simple. You go out and you observe how far the clouds are away from you. Like your circle of sight, if you see something at the horizon, say you've got a water tower, power pole, something like that, that you can identify that's at the farthest edge of your circle of sight. Identify the clouds above you and how far they stretch. And if you do have a sunrise or sunset where the sun does go up and through the clouds, to come up with the best approximation of what that distance can be. And so it generally falls into the 10 to 20 mile range. It can be less if your observation height is lower.
So your method is determining when the clouds go, or when the sun goes behind or in front of the clouds. Correct.
Have you watched any of the footage of
yeah, and I actually debunked it. And David, if you can pull up the video at 35.
Just because you and Reds keep on mentioning that you debunk something doesn't have any proof. You guys have yet to give us.
I'm actually about to show this. I'm actually about to show this proof that it's definitely farther than 10 miles.
I would actually like to clarify something real quick. Just quick fact checking. The highest level clouds have been perceived to go is about 13 kilometers, which is 8 miles. So your sun would have to be a little bit closer to the face.
And we stated right off the beginning, we stated that your altitude is what correctly gives you your horizon line, and that is the distance that you will observe the sun, moon, and stars.
Okay, that's fine and all, but did you do your observation from the ground? Because my observation was also from the ground.
Yeah, we do observations with a drone from the ground, and also the fact that you rise in altitude, the sun's distance to the rise will be set to the distance of your circle of sight. We've been constantly reiterating this.
Again, we're dealing with the distance to the sun here, and you're trying to shift the point here.
Could you show me where the pot of gold is at the end of the rainbow? No, because the way that
you're shifting the point instead of actually letting me address this. David, can you pull that video up and go to the time code I put in? What you're seeing there is an airplane flying over Gary, Indiana, about 60 miles from me. And it's still in front of the sun.
Interesting.
So
why is it not obscured and blown out by the power of the sun that you guys keep claiming?
Because I actually have a solar filter on the camera.
Also, hang on. I also would like to submit for the jury to consider my solar transit observation of the International Space Station. And if you watch my video measuring the altitude to the International Space Station, we confirmed it via using trigonometry that the ISS was about 250 miles away.
That's a nonsense.
Guess what? I saw that same International Space Station transit in front of the sun, which means now the sun just got pushed back to over 250 miles away. Imagine that.
Okay, just a quick reminder to not interrupt. Wait until somebody's done talking before you say something, okay? Just general reminder.
Sounds good. So just to point this out, I verified that the International Space Station was a certain distance away. I saw the International Space Station transit in front of the sun because, like Shawn, I also had a solar filter and was able to see this, which means that the claim that the sun is about 10 to 20 miles away has already been debunked by those two proofs alone.
This is what's your channel, Awake Souls, just to remind you.
Yeah. And it's what's gotten a lot of people, because they can go out and do their own observations. All a person needs to do is to do a search on YouTube for clouds behind the sun and see that there's a variety of different channels that are unrelated. There's only a few COINTEL channels that are putting disinformation out, trying to debunk this. But the P900 is not that expensive. Anybody can go get one for between $500 and $600. And they can do and test this themselves. And it's really, once a person has done this for themselves, that nobody can convince them that it's not happening. So this is not a debate where we expect to convince either of you two that we're seeing that clouds behind the sun can be seen. This is to let the jury out there know that if you really want to examine your reality, this is important, because once you realize just how close things are operating, that's when you realize that you have to be in a simulation. So then issues like what happens as far as crossing the international date line doesn't become such a big issue once you just know for sure that the reality that we're taught as far as heliocentrism, I mean, for one thing, we've brought this up over and over and over, the 24-hour sun above the horizon in both the north and the south, there's no real footage of it. We see a bunch of CGI, probably about 5 or 6 clips of CGI, and but no real footage of it. There was a flat earther that promotes the AE map model that went to Alaska, and he was not able to capture a 24-hour above the horizon sun. So this is something that's necessary for both the heliocentric model and the AE map and model in the north, and then the globe needs it as well in the south, yet we have nothing but CGI.
Let me stop you there. My friend Geistview actually spent a fair amount of time in Antarctica working there, and was actually able to record the sun using a 360-degree camera. If you're going to say that he is lying, then I'm going to find that not only offensive, but I'm going to say that you are talking out of your ass, because you have no evidence to show that that footage is fake, nor have you gone there to confirm it yourself. I have no reason to deny this guy is telling me the truth. And since he went down there and was able to film it for the specific purpose of actually debunking this claim that, quote, there is no footage of this everywhere, then I guess we're left with, yeah, your word against his. And if I'm going to choose who I believe, I'm going to choose the person that has demonstrated themselves to be a reliable source of information. He went down there, he had a 360-degree camera, and was able to record a 24-hour sun, no problems whatsoever. The reason is because the globe model comports with reality, and that's exactly what it would predict.
Well, yeah, that's great. I would love for you to link that video below, Reds. Again, because it should be 52 days, right? At least in the north and the south, that the sun is above the horizon, supposedly circling. And this was something that the AE mappers pushed. And Jason and I have done extensive research. So it'll be great that you can actually provide some valid experiments. So again, I would submit to you, both Shawn and Reds, could you guys please present us with a working map? And then after that, could you please show it how that comports to wrapping to a sphere? If not, you guys are not presenting any map or model. You're just supposing that rockets flying off into space. And we constantly keep repeating, our altitude is what decides the distance of the sun, and the celestial luminary objects are rendered to us. We're not saying that the sun is fixed at 3 miles. The higher you rise, the larger the distance to the sun will become. Exactly the same way that when we try to actually locate the distance to a rainbow, comes back with the exact same scenario.
Again, my observation of the sun here was at ground level. It was done with a camcorder on a tripod.
Well, let me get something straight here if I can, just so I can kind of wrap my head around it. You're saying that the sun, the distance to the sun, changes depending on who is actually doing it and how tall, like what their elevation is, or how far, how high up they are. Like it physically changes distances.
What we're saying is all of the luminaries, the sun, the moon, and all of the observable stars actually render themselves depending on the observer's distance. So not only to the human eye, but as well to any cameras, any footage, any drones, this is the same observable, repeatable observations that we make.
So an oversimplified way of explaining it is that the contradictions that the sun gives you are going to be solved by simply saying it's a glitch in the matrix.
No, that's not what we're saying. It's all measurable, scalable. We actually can use software, like 3D modeling software, to model all this, and it works as predicted. So on a flat plate,
I was able to demonstrate.
Now, another interesting factor as far as this rendering distance is that the higher we go, all of a sudden the stars aren't rendered to us anymore. A lot of people have noticed that in high altitude flights, the 40,000, 45,000 foot range, that the stars do not show up anymore. So there is an actual rendering limit to the stars. High altitude footage, none of that shows stars.
Mainly because high altitude launches are done in the daytime, and the exposure of the camera is not set to record stars. It's set to record the bright stuff that is around it. You do understand how camera exposure works, right?
I absolutely do. Yeah, I'm a photographer.
Okay, then you should see the folly of your argument then.
Well,
what about a person from an airplane that can look out his window and see no stars once they're at a certain elevation?
I disagree with that because as someone who has flown at night, I have been able to see stars when looking up, and I was flying at 40,000 feet. What limit is there? How high would I honestly have to go before I don't see any stars?
I don't know. You tell me. It's your model.
Okay, on my model, there is no altitude limit. It's what you are able to see via exposure. If the exposure is set for it and you don't have any other bright stuff in the frame that is going to completely blow out the image, you will be able to see stars at any altitude. And when we actually, look out to what has actually been observed, that turns out to actually be the case.
So
you haven't demonstrated.
Funny story about that whole altitude versus seeing stars. Now, when we were in Tennessee, Red, we were at about 3,000 foot of altitude. And
Correct.
You live in Florida, which is pretty much zero. I live in Indiana, which is around 700 feet above mean sea level.
Correct.
Now, here at 700 feet, I can't see the Milky Way. Can you see the Milky Way there in Florida?
No, too much light pollution.
So as we gained altitude to when we were in Tennessee for the solar eclipse, that night after the solar eclipse, we saw the Milky Way galaxy from a higher altitude. So that kind of ruins the claim that they render less with altitude being gained.
Could I just submit to the jury that what we believe and what we teach is that depending on your longitude and latitude throughout our flat and observably world, is depending on that is what stars are rendered to you. That's why we have demonstrated that.
Wait. I'm going to stop you there because a minute ago it was altitude and now it's latitude.
It's your position on the flat Earth map and your altitude will give you different observations. In the north of our map, so if we call it the northern hemi, the south, you guys know what hemi means, obviously. So in the northern half, you can see Polaris and the stars circling counterclockwise. On the southern half of the flat Earth map, we can see the stars rotating clockwise around Sigma Octantis. Now, you brought up again that our map must depend on 4 celestial poles. I just like if we could quickly get the map shown, I'd just like to put one more point on that, just because I want to clarify to the witnesses that are in the chat and watching in the future exactly the way that this map works. And I submit again, you and Reds have yet to offer me a working map of your
WGS 84.
Okay, we'll get that up on the screen after, hopefully. But if the producer, bless his heart, if he could produce the quick picture of our map again, I'd just like to explain the way that it works.
Well, God.
I was just gonna say I would like to point out that what you said there about the things that are it's being rendered to people personally, that's actually an unfalsifiable hypothesis that you've kind of presented, and which is not science. And
exactly what we observe. What do you mean?
Hang on. No. I challenge that outright. That is not what we observe. I do not see objects having blocking or any kind of rendering artifacts as I would in a video game. Where is your evidence to show that things are being rendered in real time?
So do you think Mario knows that he's in a video game, or does he think he's a real character?
You got echo.
Well, you have a little bit of echo there. Apparently, the Matrix is not very happy with you right now.
We'd still like to see the map, and you can say that all you want, but you've been absolutely obliterated tonight.
Sure, you can go ahead and say that. I'm sure one day you will even believe it yourself.
Now, as the supposed judge of this, I think that I am the only one that can really
definitely not you guys.
Well, hold on. I'm speaking right now. I'm the only one that can actually say whether or not something was actually demolished or whatever. So nothing has been demolished. But
we haven't seen a map or a model presented by the other two.
I would like to point out to the jury, as you'd like to say, that myself have provided real-world observations that actually comport with a globe Earth. What they have presented is a map that they ripped from somebody else and totally misconstrued.
So link below, we'll have a link to a Flat Earth Hangout that we had with Flat Earth Math, who was a math teacher. When we supported and showed him our correct working map and model of this reality, and we then showed him how it wrapped to a sphere, he actually had no obligations or no denial that the map didn't actually comport to reality, because any observations that you can make with the globe completely works and precisely works in the same manner on our flat and stationary Earth. And we still see that map put up again quickly. I guess maybe the producer stepped away.
I can address that whole wrapping around the globe, because any projection can be wrapped around a globe, but everything gets distorted.
Well, unless you use a stereographic map, and then
as I said earlier, unless Alaska is as large as the entire United States of America, not North America. Just
as quick evidence, I submit that the northern section of Russia that you see that looks greatly distorted, actually Putin has actually offered anyone in the world free land as long as they're willing to create power. You can Google this and find out yourself that they've offered up free land. Jason, would you just quickly explain how this map works? Because they think that South Africa would be looking down. Just explain to them real quick how this works.
Well, sure. You can also see that the Arctic Circle up there, most people don't want to go into the Arctic Circle. It's pretty cold. But with Antarctica being split like that, there are only 2 points of rotation on this map. When we wrap this through a 3D sphere in Blender, Antarctica comes together. This all looks like the globe that you're also familiar with when wrapped to a sphere. Antarctica comes together and becomes the landmass that you're familiar with. All right, so the observations of this and the globe, this is just a flat map right here. These curved lines right here of latitude and longitude, if you're in South Africa right there, if you look at the longitude lines and you see the tight hook that they have to make to come back to the South Pole there on the right Antarctica. So if you were looking at like a WGS 84 or something like that map, then you would have to go to a magnetic declination map to find your correction. And you can see right here why some place like South Africa would have heavy correction. The places that have the biggest swooping arcs here, when you go to the magnetic declination map, you're going to see that's where the correction's taking place. So those are corrections to like back engineer from this, because the lines of latitude and longitude are not perfectly straight lines. They're not a grid work.
I would also like to point out how this model also fails, not only in the fact that the land masses are completely the wrong size compared to other land masses, but I would also like to submit a challenge, which I do guarantee that no matter the amount of time given to our opponents here, they will not be able to make it work. So is there any chance, and you guys have access to awesome 3D modeling capabilities, or you can go out and build a scale model and do it yourself, make an equatorial telescope mount work on that model.
Okay, I can answer that.
And I will, hang on, and I will bet you 2 P900s, my drone, and also my car to it.
So you brought up the equatorial mount and how that would work. It's so easy. The fact that you guys even bring that up just shows your absolute incoherent inability to do any research. You've conformed to your ideology and your faith and your globe. All you have to do is angle the equatorial mount to the celestial equator, and voila, magic happens. As the stars rotate around, the equatorial mount is adjusted to the angle and the declination of the celestial equator, thus providing exact verification of all celestial objects.
Look at your map again. Look at your map again. Bring that back up, David. You do know that an equatorial mount only rotates on one axis.
We are well aware. I just explained to you.
There is
line it up, the declination to the celestial equator, and the equatorial mount will provide the exact same. You guys keep forgetting that this is an actual stereographic projection. This map actually comports to all known globular observations. This is the true flat.
Well,
yes. And you're going to deny that the cartographers that designed this were wrong?
Limitless. So I will tell you this much right now. I'm sorry, but you did not win the 2 P900s, and you did not win my car, because the fact of the matter is this: an equatorial telescope mount works on one axis. It rotates on one axis. That map that you're showing me right now has swooping lines, which means that a star would go into frame and then out of frame, which doesn't happen in reality. So, once again, can you please show us a map that actually works with an equatorial telescope mount? Because so far, you haven't been able to do that. And you're saying that we're getting destroyed? My God, embarrassing.
Well,
Well,
okay, hold on. But before you continue, I feel like there's a little bit of talking past one another here. If we go back to what, if we go back to what was said earlier, they believe that everything that we perceive is rendered specifically for us wherever we are. So that's how it's unfalsifiable, that you get an equatorial mount or whatnot and you position it whatever way. I mean, no matter which way you point it, it's going to render like the correct view, if you will, for that particular spot. So that's how it's unfalsifiable, and that's why it doesn't really help us determine what is true and what is not, because it's unfalsifiable. So I felt like that's what Shawn and Reds were kind of talking past here. The fact that they think that all of reality renders specifically to the observer in the way that we see it being observed.
Well, here's the big problem with simulation theory and rendering to the individual. No two individuals would ever see the exact same thing. Ever.
That's correct. They
Especially
don't.
from different locations.
And you can model that in 3D software, that you can place two sets of eyes side by side from each other, and the angular resolution of everything will be different to each observer. You can model that.
No, you're not understanding. If everything is rendered to the individual, it would be based on what they want to see.
Okay.
It's not. Nobody would see the exact same object in real space.
A simple test for this is to stand by a body of water and like at sunrise and sunset, and watch the glare across the water, the lake or something towards yourself. Have another person standing 20 feet to the side of you, another person 20 feet, and every single one of those people see the light being rendered to themselves. Now you could project that lake farther and farther and farther, and every single one of them is going to have the light shining to their perspective. It's just a simple test for anybody can do.
Here's a simpler one for you that'll actually better demonstrate what I'm saying. You have 3 people. 2 people are going to be designated as your observers. The third person is going to place an object somewhere on the ground and not tell either of the observers what it is. If it was a rendered to the individual item, neither of them would say it was the same item. They would both say, okay, I see a ball, and the other guy would say, I see a baseball bat.
Yep.
No, we don't. We're not using simulation as an excuse here. We're using simulation. We're not saying
but you are.
anything can take place. We've applied rules
but
to
you are
reality.
declaring simulation. You are declaring simulation because every time you run into something that you can't have an answer for, you just run back to simulation theory.
No, we do observations that prove that we're in a non-physical reality. Just like I stated off the very beginning, I know that I'm not the body. And I understand that the observations of the clouds behind the sun, there's multiple different proofs.
Supposition is not proof for anything.
What observation have you shown? What observation have you shown tonight that says we are not in a physical reality?
The position and the rendering of all luminaries, light objects, and the distance that we can measure to the angle.
None.
Well, everything we've presented.
I asked you what you have shown tonight that shows that we are in a non-physical
the clouds behind the sun is alone enough proof. And like I said,
I
knew you were going to be
guys,
I'm just thankful that we were able to bring these such high truths to you guys and all your listeners. I know this is going to be a huge leap for you guys, but this is time. It's been fun. New paradigm shift, and we're all involved. And again, I'm super thankful that we've had this opportunity. I have nothing against anybody here. I have had no ad hominem attacks. We are bringing new truths, new higher level understandings, and science is going to have to comport to the reality and the truths that we presented tonight. Let it be known.
All right, then here's the thing. They can go ahead and say that they've presented truths when in reality they've presented falsehoods, misunderstandings, and easily debunkable claims. For example, The sun in front of the clouds has been debunked by my simple image that shows that bright objects can look like they are in front of dim ones or non-lit objects, which is easily demonstrable to anyone who is willing to go out and try it for themselves.
Yeah, and
you do not have any piece of evidence that can be shown to simply be a flaw with camera optics.
And you can see with the naked eye clouds behind the sun and the moon, as well as clouds in front of and behind rainbows as well.
Yeah, the problem exists not only for cameras, but guess what? The eyes as well. Go out to a rocket launch and watch it as it appears that the flame is in front of the power lines that you know are closer to you than the rocket.
That will only happen when you have the focal length not adjusted correctly. By naked eye, you will never see the rocket blast in front of the power line. That will never happen.
Well, I guess the simulation graced you with really perfect eyes because everyone else.
No, it's my Father in heaven that graces me with all truth. You better get that.
Who is weeping at your pathetic attempt to describe his model?
Says you.
Says reality.
Says the evidence, actually.
The reality that we all experience and observe that is actually able to make predictions in which all air traffic is based on, as well as navigation through the sea. We don't use a flat Earth model. We don't use a flat Earth model for airplanes or seafaring. No, we use the globe model because the globe model is the only one that has been shown to accurately make predictions and get you to where you're going. If anyone were to be dumb enough to use your model, they would die at sea.
That's not true. And you still need to provide proof of a gyroscope processing a full 360-degree rotation. There's a number of things that you have to provide as evidence. Otherwise, there is no heliocentric model.
And how many globes have you used while navigating on a plane, a ship, or a boat, or even across a land? None. Every globe that's ever been created says not for educational purposes. Again, you bring up faulty arguments. But still,
hang on. www.oneworldglobes, grade level 3 educational globes, grade level 4 through 12 educational globes, grade level 6 through 12 physical series globes, high level education globes, all of which are for educational purposes. Gee, I guess that claim has been debunked by a 10-second search on Google.
Okay, I think this is a good time to go into final thoughts and conclusions.
I agree.
So, because we're kind of talking around in circles at this point, and it's getting really heated and whatever. So,
to defuse that situation, though, John, I think I have to give Reds his thing.
Okay.
Because he earned it.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Can you kind of make up a reason why I'm doing this so that people don't freak out, Reds? And
I can do a little bow, just go wow, wow, buck, wow, wow music.
My main purpose is to make you grossly uncomfortable because you forced me to actually do this debate, and also because I love you. I mean, who doesn't?
You don't know what Kyle had promised in order to make this debate happen, so here you go. Don't judge him, man.
Oh, he looks so uncomfortable. I love it.
Kyle. It's priceless.
It actually feels not bad.
You know what? You look good in that, actually. I give you props.
I'm supposed to be a white wife beater, but you know what? I think I can forgive you for that.
You did not specify, sir. You did not specify.
Bleach it next time.
So, carry on.
Okay, thank you. So, Godless, back to you. How do you want to end this?
Okay, I figured since we started off with the flat earthers, you guys can have your final thoughts and everything like that, and then the globe side will present their final thoughts.
All right, I'll go first here, and I think the camera might be stuck. All right, so I turned it off. But what is? Can I speak?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to be here on the NonSequitur Show and to have this debate. I think it's a very important one. There's a lot of people in the world right now that have done the research and come to the conclusion that Earth is flat, and those are the people that I was really interested in presenting to. It's not to the heliocentric believers that this was not for them, because well, they're happy with their model and with the possibility that something came from nothing and that there is no God. This presentation was for flat Earth believers that have believed in the AE map and model
And that model is incorrect. There is no flat Earth channel that is going to stand up and debate that against heliocentric supporters. You know, Jaron was a perfect example. He provided no evidence. So we know what's happening on Earth. We know we know that there is no place where curvature has been measured. We have not been told a place where we can go out and test and verify this ourselves. So we are continue to believe that Earth is flat. And we are still waiting for somebody that's interested in doing research with us to help test and verify that the map and model that we're presenting is as accurate as possible. Ronnie and I are a couple of carpenters, builders, and we do our best, you know, to try to 3D model things and put out videos and stuff like that, but we could actually use help. So we have our channels, Awake Souls. We have our co-channel Beyond Flat Earth. And, you know, we ask people to be involved, to help do this research, be a part of the conversation and have your voice heard. So thank you to all. And Ronnie, you want to say something?
Yes, again, I'd like to start out by thanking everybody in the chat. Please, again, like, share, donate, subscribe. This channel is the first higher profile channel that has ever at least even spoken Jason and my name as well. I super am thankful for that. Again, within the first minute of the debate, we were already Red's already achieved ad hominem attacking. We are also told throughout this debate that water is not flat, level means curved. Reds and Shawn did not provide any map or model, nor a flat map that could be wrapped to a sphere, because if they did, they would have had to provide the map that we brought today to the table, because it is and always will be, until debunked, the most accurate two-dimensional flat map of our reality. Again, I'm super thankful that Reds took this debate. It is clearly obvious that him and Shawn thought they were in for a dumpster fire, and guess what? My Lord and Savior, Yahushua the Christ, actually came through and gave us with the observable, representable, and well-documented proof that we do live in a reality that is flat and that it is a simulation. And the good news is if you trust on him, you will be saved. We are having our own after show tonight. Please join us on Awake Souls channel as well. If you guys are into the dumpster fire, stay here, because I'm sure Reds, Shawn, and every other ball earther are going to have their hands full, because they absolutely, in my opinion, and what will be known to be found by the jury and the witnesses of the earth, non-biased, that we actually destroyed you guys. You didn't present anything. I rest my case, and God bless you all. Thank you.
Mistrial.
Okay, so the globe side, and I would like to say the straw poll that I have up right now is totally not working in your favor, flat earth side. So,
hang on, Godless, could you please tell us what the poll is showing?
right now, it's a total of like 67 votes, at least it shows on my, so 69 votes. It's 95% on the red side, Reds and Shawn.
Judge Godless, may I approach the bench?
Yes, you may.
This is getting
Thank you.
uncomfortable, guys.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much for allowing us to debate Awake Souls and the Limitless Channel. But as you remember, at the very beginning of this, we were leaving it in the hands of the jury, which was the audience. The jury has spoken. The Flat Earth has failed tonight's test. It has failed in every aspect, and we were able to show everybody how their model does not comport with reality and how our model does. So, Judge, I submit to you a punishment for them being found guilty of not only providing a model that does not comport with reality, but bringing up something as idiotic and unfalsifiable as simulation theory. I recommend, for your consideration, Judge Godless Engineer, that their nuts be branded with the NASA logo. Thank you, and I leave it to Shawn Hufford.
It's really simple. They asked for evidence, or we were actually supposed to bring evidence for our models. And I think that just with the videos I presented, it was done brilliantly. What they brought us was a projection of a globe, which is what all projections are. They will all wrap to a sphere because they are projections of the sphere, while they're all while claiming that we're not providing a map. They're taking a globe and flattening it out and distorting everything in order to present a flat Earth map. We've shown that they don't pay attention to what the other side is arguing because they kept on bringing up the horizon rising to eye level after I demonstrated that it does not. They keep bringing up the anti-crepuscular rays, which I demonstrated only work on a globe model because the sun had already set. So they ignore the arguments from the other side to keep pushing their narrative. This is a standard in all flat earth believers. And with that, I think the poll says it all. And they were saying that they were going to follow what the poll says. The poll right now says you guys got owned. I'm done.
Thank you. Thank you. So at this point, I would like to say that the Flat Earth has been found guilty of presenting no valid model, and that's it.
Well, hold on. Now, Reds, I mean, that's mine. That's my particular gavel to strike. Now, I will have
my apologies, Judge.
You mean ukulele to play?
I will have to say that according to the straw polls, the jury is in, and the Flat Earth side has lost. I mean, since we're judging this as a jury and judge and everything like that, I have to go with the jury. Not only that, but of course, my NASA shill hat here should have made it obvious who I'm rooting for on this. But anyways, I appreciate both sides coming and having a good discussion. And there's going to be a Q&A in the after show. I'm guessing on both channels. There's going to be an after show with, I guess, on Steve on your channel. Is that right?
On this one.
No, it's going to be on this one.
Okay, it's going to be on the NonSequitur channel. Then, of course, Awake Souls and whatnot. They have their own going on over there. So, yeah, I appreciate everybody taking part in the straw poll.
We broke the record. We broke the record, guys. Just to say that you have over 1,000 viewers. Woo!
Yep,
Good job, team.
But
thank you all.
Steve, what was that phrase in the OJ trial? If the
blood doesn't fit, you must acquit.
Okay.
Yeah.
He has a black leather glove.
I still get very uncomfortable every time you do that, Kyle.
It's so funny to do. But yes, I want to thank Awake Souls, the Limitless Channel, Godless Engineer for moderating, Shawn and Reds for joining us. As always, Dave, who does an excellent job producing that can be a stressful job. So we want to stop and say thank you to him as well. You can join us in the after show in about 20 minutes. We will be reading all the super chats, answering your questions, going over some things about the debate. And Steve, anything you want to add before we?
No, I just want to reiterate that the people that did super chat, we do appreciate it. We will be reading them on the after show because there was just so many, and some of them really good. I think we kind of discuss them more appropriately on the after show than this particular debate or discussion or trial, whatever.
So from Sarcastic Studios, where we filmed the moon landing, I'm Lyle every time my mouth's running.
And I'm Deceive McCreep.
And we'll see you next time we need to shill out some money.
We're the champions.
Non sequitur. Your facts are uncoordinated.